I installed this chain to my tie down, and I used an S-hook on the end of it. It's gonna be, right now at least, I'm holding all of my propane and my isobutane. And then up here is where I'm keeping my power supply for short. I got my bear spray holder. Well, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brian, and today I'm going to show you guys pretty much the completed build of my little camper project that I have right behind me. So pretty much it's all done. I'm waiting on some curtains. So those are being built right now by my mom. So those aren't in yet, but that's the only thing that's left. So I'm going to spin you guys around. I'm going to take you inside and kind of show you what I did. I did take some ideas from some other bigger YouTube camper truck bed guys that I'll try to give credit where credit's due. But I really like some of their ideas, so I wanted to implement them in my build. Other than that, it's pretty much done, and I've got a trip coming up next weekend, so I wanted to get this video out before that happens. So without further ado, and drawing this thing out, let me spin you around and take you inside and show you what I did. Okay, so here we are inside the camper. We'll just start from back here. So obviously here's the bed with the platform that I showed you guys how I built. And in case anyone's wondering, this is 7 inches from the top to the bottom. I had another person ask how thick it was, or how tall it was. So it is 7 inches. I got a 5-inch medium density foam mattress, and it works just fine. I can sit on it and still not bump my head up top. But my recommendation is, if you guys are going to get medium density foam mattress, get a 4-inch. It'll be more than adequate, and it gives you just, that extra little bit of headroom. I think 5 inches was a little bit overkill, but it still works. And then you can kind of see the cabinets that I built. I'll get a closer up of those when we get inside, but this is basically it standing from the outside. So let me crawl in here and show you guys what's going on. So we'll start by, I'll close down the lid, and I did install this little handle. I doubt you're going to be able to get it with the exposure, but I just used one of the pre-existing screws that were in the frame and just put a little piece of almost like seatbelt material just as a handle to pull this thing down. So one of the things that I looked at was, how do I lock this thing? And I know that sounds silly because you don't ever lock your tent when you go camping, but if you're ever in a parking lot or a Cracker Barrel, whatever, there's really no way to lock these. So what I found from a couple of YouTubers, MacGyver lady, I think was her name, something MacGyver, and then a couple other, but these are pretty much all the same. I just took some really light duty chain, honestly. Get this cup out of here. And I installed this chain to my tie down, and I used an S-hook on the end of it, like so. And then on these latches that come installed on the glass itself, I just drilled a small hole in the end of it. Now I did have to extend this latch, so I got just a piece of angle iron, and I cut it, and I drilled 2 holes, and I attached it to the existing latch because I needed this extra space for that hole. So that's why there's 2 screws here. But with this S-hook, all you have to do now is take this little hook, slide it into that hole right there, and now this thing from the outside, you can't turn the handle to open it. Now, can it be defeated? Absolutely. This is pretty light duty, but it's going to be enough to either wake you up or get you time to get your bear spray or whatever you want to use. But that's how I'm going to lock, if I ever need to, how I'm going to lock it. And that's the same on both sides. I've got another chain over there, so that's the same thing, and I did the same thing to this latch. So that's how I'm going to lock it. I did install some curtain rods. And actually, if you guys are looking for these, I ended up finding them under the name cafe rods because they're a lot thinner than your standard curtain rods. These are actually 7/16 of an inch in diameter, and I used some 7/16 inch clamps to secure them using the existing screws. I just unscrewed it and reinstall the screw into the clamp. So that's what's holding up my curtain rods. And you can probably also see the truck bed lights that I installed, and I'll get those things turned on here in just a little bit. But I got the curtain rods up top, and I got the curtain rods in the bottom using the same method of installing them. So again, that's the only thing I'm waiting on now is my curtain rods, and that's not going to focus, is it? There we go. So there's that. Let's sit on the bed here and spin you around. And this is one of the ideas that I got from, I believe his name is, oh gosh, Quady, Mike Quady, Crazy Quady, I think is his channel. He's a pretty big truck camper guy. So this idea came from him, and I really liked it because it's just so obvious, but not obvious, I guess. It's just a cot organizer, and got this from Cabela's. But I had to cut mine on the end because it was too long. I couldn't get it all the way back there. So I just cut it, and I put some seam tape. I ironed it on so it's not going to fray or anything. And I cut it to the end of this cabinet. But it just provides a lot of extra more storage options for a place that's typically not going to be used, or you couldn't use for storage. So I thought that was a fantastic idea from him. So props to him for that. Got my coffee cup up there. And then back here to the bed. Again, you know, this is where I keep most of my storage. So I got an extra battery box, got a little butane stove, blanket, big 12-volt fan, some paper towels, my 14-gauge extension cord, and a Mr. Buddy heater that I probably won't need anymore this year, but I just have it in there for right now, and a camping chair way back there in the back. So that's kind of what I'm keeping under my bed for right now. I'm sure that'll change once I actually get out there and start doing this and figure out what I need and what I don't need, but you know, it is what it is. So back to this cabinet here. This was all kind of built around this wheel well, and it's kind of Frankenstein together. So it's just built to fit my truck. And I've got the smaller drawer down here is going to be, right now at least, I'm holding all of my propane and my isobutane. And I got a small, or a thermocell for mosquitoes this summer. Then up here in this drawer, it's kind of my kitchen cooking drawer. So a couple of pot holders, and got my wannabe jetboil, which I'm going to try out next weekend. Hopefully it's just as good. I can't understand the price of jetboils. I wasn't going to spend 150 bucks on one. So I'm going to try this out, show you guys if it works. Got some pots and pans, a little measuring cup, and I got just some odds and ends. Of course, you got your Mora knife. But that's just my camping drawer. And then up in the top drawer, I just used a bunch of these little bags that I had laying around to kind of keep all of my weird stuff. So I got some rope and tie downs. I got some odds and end things. I've got my charging cords for everything. I've got my little, you know, whatever you want to call it, toothpaste, toothbrush, brush, bathroom kit in this thing. Got a bunch of lighters in here because you can't ever have too many lighters. Got a little speaker. Got a little light. And I got a small first aid kit down there, and you know, just some odds and end things, but I wanted to keep them in all these bags to kind of keep it better organized. So there's that for that drawer. And then up here is where I'm keeping my power supply for shore power. So the way that I have this working is, this is Velcro to the side of the camper. And then the power lead goes back behind here, goes underneath my bed rug, down the back of the bed and out underneath the bed. And I've got the plug zip tied underneath the bed with a waterproof cover on it, that when I do go to hook up, I just unscrew that cover and I plug it in from underneath my truck. Then I've got shore power inside. Now let me show you guys the power station. Got a little 12-volt fan that just connects directly to my battery down here. It's just perfect right here by my head where I lay down. It's just a light fan. I got my bear spray holder, a little organizer, and then a place to keep my phone when I lay down, so it's not gonna be missing when I wake up in the morning. Then a place to put a drink, and then all this up here is going to be used for, you know, placing things on. But as far as the power goes, I got my battery down there, got all my plugs. These aren't technically hooked up to anything yet, but I've got the wires out the back if I ever want to just quickly attach something to it. These plugs are ready to go. These plugs are for my shore power. So I've got two 12-volt cigarette styles, and then I've got a power delivery and a quick charge port right here. And again, this is only for shore power. And these plugs right here, this is my main cabin light. That turns on these. This switch right here turns on my bed lights, which, if I can get my feet out of the way, turns these on. And these little lights provide just enough light at night. They're perfect. These lights up here completely light this back of the truck bed up like it's daylight. So they're really, really bright. So they might be good for filming, but these little bed lights are probably going to be the most, ambient type lights that I'll use when I'm in here watching TV or whatever. But that's what that switch is for. And then this switch is a spare. It's not hooked up to anything yet, but I got a pigtail on the back waiting. If I ever get something, I can plug it in. So that is my kind of the power unit, how I'm going to power everything in the back of this camper. And it's worked out pretty well. And here's a quick clip of what I have underneath this panel right here of how I actually wired everything, in case you're curious. Okay, so before I get this thing all closed up, I'm going to show you the Frankenstein rat's nest of how I have all these plugs wired. So this is just behind the top. So I've got my 3 plugs here. I've got 2 cigarette style plugs and a power delivery charge port and a quick charge port. And then I've got 3 more plugs here. So the reason I have 2 different kinds of plugs, this is going to be for my less powerful items if I ever need it. This is going to be for, my items that pull a little bit more amps. Nothing crazy, but that's why I did it that way. So I've got these hooked up to, so it's kind of hard to tell, but it's running around here and coming down here and going down the bottom to a cigarette style plug. So all I have to do is plug the cigarette style plug in, turn the power on. Now I got power to my switches. These smaller plugs, kind of the same deal. I've just got them all wired up. They're running back behind. And if I ever want to use any of these plugs for any accessories, I have them wired to a little barrel adapter. So now all I got to do is plug that barrel adapter in, and now I've got plugs for less powerful items. So that's why I did it that way. I'll probably never need it, to be honest, but that's the wiring. And these are going to be powered if I ever have shore power. I'm not going to run these off of my battery unit. So if I ever plug in, all I have to do, I have these plugged in to a inverter. So I've got my inverter running to a fuse panel. Got the positive and the negative hooked up coming directly from this inverter. Then I've got all of the power for these plugs going directly to each spot on the fuse block, and then I'm running my negatives to the negative panel. And then this guy, all you have to do is plug it in to standard house electric plug, and you're going to be able to run these. So again, I can't run these if I'm just directly off my battery. This is only going to be for when I'm plugged into shore power. So that is the wiring. All right, guys. Well, that is the view of my little camper in here. So I think it's going to be just perfect. I don't need a whole lot of room. I just need a place to keep my head, to lay down, get comfy. A place to probably cook coffee in the morning. I'm probably not going to do a lot of cooking actually in here, but if I have to, if it's raining outside, I can. But overall, I'm really happy with it. Again, I took some ideas from some other people. I tried to give credit where I couldn't remember at least, but it's really simple. And again, the only thing I'm waiting for is the curtains. So once those are in, this thing will be ready to go. And I do have a trip planned for next weekend that I'll be testing this out by myself and show you guys how that works out. So with that, guys, that's pretty much my camper. Hope you found any of this useful, or can take some ideas that I used and implement them into your build. But if you have any questions, shoot me a comment, let me know. I'll get back to you and answer to the best of my ability. But with that, guys, we will see you next weekend on my first trip out with this camper. So stay tuned.